Okay, hello and welcome to the next installment in our webcast series on optimizing Microsoft Dynamics. I'm Jason Gumpert, and joining us for today's event is Art Small. Art is a CRM consultant at Fullscope who has been working with Dynamics CRM for over 6 years. And today he'll be diving into BI and reporting tools in Dynamics CRM for manufacturing. So as we get started, I just want to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions during today's event. Please use the Q&A block or the chat block that you can access from the top of your screen there. That will give you access to ask questions to Art, and I know he'll be interested to hear your feedback and your questions throughout today's event. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome our presenter, Art Small. Art, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon or good morning, everybody, depending on your time zone. Thank you for the introduction, Jason. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Art Small. I'm a software solutions consultant with Edgewater Fullscope. We're a VAR based out of the Northeast in the Boston area, but with offices in Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, the UK, and in Canada. I've been working with CRM for 6 years. I've got a project management background, and I've been exclusively focused on providing CRM demonstrations and related consulting efforts for the last 2 years. So today we will be presenting around business intelligence and market reporting using Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And this is a manufacturing-oriented presentation, meaning much of the information that we're using is directed towards organizations that have a manufacturing slant. It doesn't mean that the BI-related conversations we're having are unrelated to other areas or are not applicable, but this is just our focus. As Jason said, I will be accepting questions throughout, so feel free to post them into the Q&A window, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them. And otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. So the outline for today's session is we'll first be going through some analytic challenges and goals, what we want to get out of doing BI in the first place. We'll look at a potential BI solution, and then we will go ahead and actually get into the demonstration. So BI, it's all about the analytics and definitely about the output. We've got a couple different areas where there are some inputs before we get to the outputs. So let's go ahead and start with the management vision. Managers, and what we're calling managers here is typically the senior management, but it could be middle managers. They are looking for performance. They want to understand how the company is doing, and they want to understand the productivity out of the company. They also want to get into the traceability. Who has done what that has resulted in the outputs they're seeing? Not necessarily who, but it could be company performance, could be industry trends, it could be distributor trends, partner trends, you name it. But they want to see all that connected. They want to see this in a single source. We recommend, of course, that this be CRM, but you'll see a little bit later in the presentation where other sources might come into play. They really don't care that the information is in multiple systems. They want to see a single, clear picture. And then lastly, but not least, of course, they want to make sure that their company is reducing costs and increasing efficiency, and they want to see this through the BI. At the core of this all is management needs that the reporting be flexible, be nimble. They want to be able to see alternative information, and they don't want to wait for IT or the analysts to run the numbers. Next thing is the sales reps, what they're looking for. And when I say sales, you'll see when we get to the dashboards, we have a lot of sales-oriented, but this could very easily be marketing. It could be service professionals. So don't think that we're excluding this to just sales. They want self-service. They want the data now. They don't want to have to wait for someone to pull it. They want to know that the performance of the market and industry is where it should be, or if it's not, they want to see why. And in general, manufacturers have a lot of focus on their different channel sources. Often they're having to reach out to their channels, whether those be partners, distributors, vendors, etc. They're having to collect all the updates from them. So they're asking, what products are you selling, where are they in the pipeline, what sales are closing, and they've got to then compile all that data. They're often then comparing the data into a forecasting system. Maybe those forecasts are built into CRM, maybe they're in some other system. And they're also comparing it to a back-end system. So they're trying to figure out perhaps what are the actuals. Those back-end systems often are ERPs, such as a Dynamics AX or NAV, but they don't necessarily have to just be that. All in all, they're spending too much time without a good BI solution. It can take several days to compile that information, and then, of course, they've got to set up all the analysis to that information, too. They want to see it real-time coming out of this, and ultimately what they want to get out of it is that 360-degree view of their customer. They're wanting to see this information not just every month, but every week, day, and every hour, and trying to do that manually is not going to be a good solution. They want the solution, whatever the BI solution is, to be easy to implement, easy to roll out. They don't want it to take months or years. They want to get it up and running as soon as possible. And at the end, it has to be a simple way to be able to use it, to be able to interact with it. Some technology concerns. These could be from IT professionals. They could be from analysts. They, in core, want to reduce the amount of labor that they are having to spend manually compiling all that data from those multiple systems. And not just from the multiple systems, but even from the one system to produce those reports. Often when they're doing manual compilations, there may be accuracy issues introduced. And this, in turn, can produce multiple versions of the truth because of the multiple systems or multiple different reports coming out of it. They want to make sure that their users are using the appropriate tools, that they're using just CRM and just Excel, for example. They don't want to provide SQL Server reporting services. They don't want to give access to the back-end systems if they can get away with it. So they want to make sure that their users are in touch with the data they need, but in the appropriate manner. They want to minimize the local database copies. It's best if they can keep this all in one location or keep those additional locations connected to the source. Where possible, they want to reduce the legacy systems or overlapping systems and let all the data itself be in one system. It works better for running those reports. And they're very concerned with data security. They want to make sure that users have access to the appropriate data and cannot see data that they should not see. For example, a salesperson on the East Coast should not see what's happening with sales on the West Coast, for example. Depends on your organization. Some organizations are very open-ended, but in any organization, there's always going to be at least some level of security that needs to be factored in. So getting the results out of all of these three different points of view is the system needs to be easy to navigate, it needs to be easy to use, easy to be able to interpret. The numbers should be accurate. We want to have a successful implementation given all of the myriad different facets of what goes on in BI. They really want to see that BI drives growth and drives strategy. So let's look at a potential manufacturing model, one that we've seen across different manufacturing companies. And we'd really like to drive home the subtitle here. We want to make sure that the right intelligence is available at the right time and in the right hands to affect change. Very powerful statement, and it resonates across any organization, whether it be manufacturing or otherwise. We want to be able to see a consolidated source for the company reporting, if at all possible. The data should all be in the same system, and in an implementation, a partner will want to help you explore all the scenarios to be able to set up a data model with integrations to help bring everything possible into one consolidated data pulling methodology. Some questions that might be asked are, do you have a customer portal? Do you have a channel partner portal? What are your back-end systems? Do you use an ERP such as Dynamics AX, GP, NAV, SL, or another ERP? And how are you going to organize all that data in a rational manner so that when you run your different reports or pull your different charts off of it, that you'll see data in the appropriate way? Once you figure out what data model is right for you, CRM really will then begin to shine. This is where CRM can step in and help you consolidate that real-time dashboard information and be able to provide that visibility into your company performance. There may be many sources of getting business information from those distributors, vendors, internal information. Often manufacturers don't really have a clear picture as to who their end customer is because of so many different data channels. So it's really important for manufacturers to try to see that wherever possible. They want to be able to analyze the market performance and industry performance. Often manufacturers don't deal with individual products so much as product families, and this information is very important to draw out of it. Of course, they want to be able to see the performance of their partners, but not just their partners, but their internal employees as well. And it's also important that they're looking at tracking against the previous year and tracking against forecasted revenue. So I'm going to go ahead and spare us now from the rest of the PowerPoint slides and just give you one last one, and then we'll get into the demo. Today we'll be focusing on 3 different dashboards and then some follow-up information. The first dashboard is focused on the executives of a company, senior management or other management, and oriented towards the charts. We're then going to focus on a sales management dashboard. This is really oriented more towards people who are managing the end users, the producers of the company. Then we'll switch gears and look more into the product management world. This will be focused on someone who is responsible for seeing that the products themselves are selling well and have a good representation across the company. We'll see some charts and views of data. And then last but not least, we'll show you some further analysis options. We'll get into some Excel out of the box with CRM, and then I'll also show you what you can do with Power Pivot and Power View. So let's go ahead and switch on over to CRM. All right, you should now be seeing Microsoft Dynamics CRM. This is based on the 2013 version of CRM, and we're looking at it built into the Microsoft Outlook client. Very helpful for many people that want to be able to see all their email, to be able to work with their calendars, and also with CRM. But let's focus more on what the dashboards are telling us. An executive, first off, like many others, are going to be looking at their pipeline. What's in the pipeline, what's going to be coming out pretty soon, and often they may be asking some probing questions. Like, for example, within the qualify segment of this pipeline, what are some of the estimated close dates? So we get out of this that we've got September, October, November timeframes. So an executive often will then be drilling down to perhaps ask what accounts are making up this. And we can see the accounts target being the most value out of it, but then we've got a few others. So just some ways that we can further utilize and not just look at a stagnant picture. Then from an open projects by end customer perspective, we're going to continue down the line of just looking at those customers that are producing. We see Target is really producing more than the others, or at least potentially producing in our open projects. And an executive is probably going to ask a question like, what industries are represented? So we can go ahead and look at this in a pie slice and see that we've got metal, which is taking up almost half, petroleum, and clothing textiles next. So again, some ways that we can use CRM to be able to get more out of just what we're getting, to be able to get to some true business intelligence. An executive often is going to be interested in just who the producers are for what we've got so far. So can get a clear picture of who is producing some of the closed opportunities. Actual revenue by industry is often of a great focus. And they're often wanting to see that their company has got an even spread, that they don't have too many eggs in one basket, so to speak. So, for example, we're seeing that for our closed projects this year, clothing, textile, and petroleum is really kind of low as compares to the others. Some of the questions that we might have coming out of this that we can use CRM to help respond is, why are those low numbers there? What's happening that we're not getting as much? I see we've got a huge amount in other. What makes up this other? Do we have any miscategorized information, or perhaps do we need to create a new category unto itself to be able to pull out the majority of this other? And then we are not restricted with CRM to just, again, the charts, but we can at any point go in to see what's underneath all of this data. We can then even further click on some of the different areas to be able to get to the information that's coming out of it. And, of course, all the information within CRM can be configured to be able to show you whatever is most important for your business. And you're not limited, again, to just the table. With CRM, you can really get into the nitty-gritty and be able to see what's powering this data. So here we see just a project. An executive is also going to be interested in looking at their territories. Again, East seems a little low compared to the others. Why are we not performing? Do we not have enough salespeople on the ground? Do we need to perhaps spin up another marketing campaign to be able to help raise East up? Or are we just simply blowing it out of the water in Central and West? And if so, what can we do to be able to help those trends translate over into the East as well? An executive also is often looking at comparing this year versus last year. As we can see right now, we're blowing last year out of the water. So some questions coming out of this might be, did we have fewer salespeople last year? Do we have better performing campaigns this year? Basically, we're wanting to sustain the performance this year and into next. I have a question that's coming out, is what software is being used for this dashboard you're demonstrating? Is it the same software used with the drill down capability? The answer is yes. This is using Microsoft Dynamics CRM. It's a product put out in the Dynamics suite. It's the 6th iteration of Microsoft's CRM platforms. We're looking at it embedded inside of Outlook. However, there is a web client unto itself that you can use outside of Outlook. I hope that answered your question. So let's switch gears and look at something that a manager might be a little bit more interested. And you can see that Microsoft Dynamics CRM has quite a few dashboard options. Most of these are out of the box. I have only configured a few of these. And of course, with Dynamics CRM, you can configure as many new ones, as well as having personal dashboards. So this is oriented towards a manager, someone who is responsible for the representatives that are producing sales, or perhaps responsible for getting those marketing campaigns out or responding to the service questions. First, a manager often will be looking at the revenue by territory from a sales perspective. We can see we've got some revenue for this month, and then it kind of just slants on down from there. So a manager is probably going to be asking what's going on in August, since we're currently in that month. So let's ask a question like, who are the owners of some of this information? So I can see who I now need to go to. These are my people that I need to target to be able to find out what's happening with these opportunities or these projects that are happening in August. And I'm going to ask another question, such as, what's the status or potential ability for it to close? And I'm seeing here that I've got everything from develop all the way through to propose. Pardon this data issue there. I'm going to ask myself, if we're supposed to be closing this month, can we truly get a project from the development stage all the way through to the closing stage? And it may be something that is of concern. So again, we can go back to those people that we found out to find out what's happening with those opportunities. And in general, I'm going to be able to hit up the rest of my sales force and see, can we get anything else in August? Same applies to the other months. I then really want to look at the performance of my producers. I want to see the sales forecast by open projects. And in an ideal world, all of my salespeople should be at about an even level on the outstanding open projects. Where I see people that are lower than others, I may ask myself, is this a performance issue? Or if it's not a performance issue, do I need to realign my territories? Do I need to put perhaps more opportunities into the territories for the latter two people? Or are they perhaps pairing up with some of the others and helping them to produce sales and sacrificing their own? So these are just performance-related questions to be able to help me understand where are we right now and how can we be doing better. My estimated revenue by month and territory is also going to be something I want to focus on. I want to, again, like an executive, make sure we've got a good even spread. Looks like my August, September, and October are doing pretty well. I've got a good representation across my territories. But November is missing some central, and December is missing some west. That may not necessarily be of concern because it's so far out from where we are now, but at the same time, I do want to see an even spread. A manager is going to be interested in looking at the impact across their industries. So we're seeing that metal is looking great. We've got a good presence. We're selling metal products, we're selling products to industries around metal in every month this year, for the remainder of this year. Can we do that for the rest of these? Certainly in computer electronics, only 1 month, October, we can be doing better than that. And then kind of pairing up with what we were looking at in our forecast up above is our goal progress. This is a great dashboard because it combines the chart that we see above with quotas, so we can actually see how well someone is performing. The blue is what's already been closed this month. Orange is what's opened, and this could be on a monthly, quarterly, semi-annual basis, what have you. The last dashboard that we'll show before we switch gears and kind of get us into something a little bit different is that of a product manager. A product manager, as a reminder, is someone who's focused on making sure that the company is selling all of the products that they have in their available suite. So the first thing they're going to look at is their product family across their different areas. Parts is looking great. So as a product manager, I would probably want to be looking into the industries and see what's happening. Good even spread. I might have 1 or 2 missing. I might have an other, but these are all things I can follow up on. Some serious concerns that a product manager may have, though, is in the process or in the assembly area. What the heck is happening there? I want to get in and figure out, first of all, do we have any good industries? We've got that other, it's popping up again. And we really aren't doing as well as compares to Parts General or perhaps some of these others. This is going to be something that I'm going to go ahead and follow up with the sales execs and figure out what's happening. Product family also can be cross-referenced by the industries. So we're seeing a bar chart that goes across, and we've got a nice even spread. For example, crafting is looking great across 5 of our industries, and I would like to be able to see that sustained for the others. Again, good even spread. So I've got another question that says, we're relatively new to Dynamics and getting better at report generation. What's the trick to making them all look so nice in your examples? That's a great question, and I was going to hold it for later, but since you asked now, I'll go ahead and show you. Out of the box, Microsoft Dynamics CRM looks kind of like this, where you've got a pretty standard chart. Your bar charts or column charts will usually be one color. We're looking at a stacked bar right here. So it stacks up multiple different ones, but we've actually taken it to the next level. Microsoft has a great blog out there for enhancing your charts. And while this does say CRM 2011, it applies equally to CRM 2013. And what this does is actually goes through and shows how you can take something that's pretty bland and start adding some nice quality to it through just an easy modification to the XML. I could do a shadow box. I could do something that's called a light to dark. This box is one that we just saw, and it isn't just limited. I can go 3D. I can change my angle to 3D, and then I can start turning maybe a box column into circles. So you really can get some different looking charts that help appeal to people. Humans are very visual people. We learn a lot more quickly by looking at something visually than we do by just looking at a set of Excel or view charts. So this will help bring some spice to your reporting and hopefully then bring some more emphasis to those that are looking at it. It helps keep it fresh. Hope that answered your question. So we're seeing some additional information in this. We're kind of departing away from the charts. We've been looking at a lot of charts. BI is not limited just to charts. We may want to be able to see a list imposed inside of it. So for example, a product manager might be interested in account growth, where I can see year to date versus last year. I can see my percent growth, whether it be positive or negative, and this of course will spawn some questions. CRM from a BI perspective can allow you to get to the records that are underneath all of this. We've seen how when we went into the interactive view using this button, we got to some of the records. We can put the records right on the screen. We can have that be superimposed inside of your dashboard. This is going to help quite a bit. And in general, you are not limited in Dynamics CRM's BI to just charts, views, and the records. We can actually see other things, such as a heat map of information. So we might want to focus on what area of the country is getting more potential revenue or closed revenue. We might want to see account locations. So maybe we're visiting one customer and we realize we need to perhaps see other customers. You can do a lot of that with mapping as well. And while we've been focused on sales, let's certainly not leave out some of the other areas that a CRM can bring, such as customer service, be able to analyze your complaints or problems, requests. And there's a further piece called Parature, which really helps me analyze the self-servicing that's going on out on the website by a customer, and also look at knowledge base related information. From a marketing perspective, we're definitely going to be interested in looking at campaigns or looking at the different leads and their sources. And then social has become a huge hot button in the last several years, and it's certainly not excluded from our ability to look at it in a BI perspective. CRM can show us the internal collaboration that's going on. It could show us collaboration between our internal customers and our outside customers using a product called Yammer, which is part of the Microsoft suite. And we can also analyze customer sentiment. What do they think about our products? What do they think about our company? And this is through a companion product, NetBreeze. So a lot of this has been focused around what we can do with dashboards. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. I showed you earlier that we were going to be getting into what you can do with Excel. So let's go ahead and show you how we can get CRM data into Excel. The reason why we're wanting to take CRM data into Excel is a couple different ways. And I'm getting it by the Export to Excel button, which I can get off any list from within CRM. Many people are just, frankly, very comfortable with Excel. It's been around for 20-plus years. We're used to using it. It's great for doing an analysis, and you'll see when we start pulling some of this data out how we can perform some of that analysis. It also answers IT's concern where they want to make sure that the data is still within one system and everything we're getting out of here can remain connected with CRM. So static means simply just a one-time pull. We're going to get the data out. Something IT probably wouldn't recommend, but there may be good reasons for it. Maybe we want to send a static pull over to a partner. or we can pull it in a dynamic fashion. Dynamic is going to set up an automatic connection to CRM so that anytime you're changing information in CRM, for example, maybe we're changing the estimated close date or increasing or decreasing the revenue to right-size it or transferring it to another territory. Any of those changes in CRM will carry over to the data in Excel. It's a fantastic way for you to be able to use some of the power of Excel but still remain connected with CRM. I'm going to choose all of the different potential properties. Doesn't mean I have to use them all. And I'll go ahead and save this so that I can then open it up. It opens up initially into an XML format, but Excel can easily handle Excel formats. So we're getting in, and the information that we're now looking at is going to be pulled in from CRM. It only takes a few moments, and it's a one-time thing until you're ready to refresh it. We can see at the very bottom of our screen that it was connecting to the web, and now we've got data pulled in. I pulled this in as a pivot table, but I can always look at the underlying data. Again, this is data from CRM, and it's been pulled in based upon my security privileges. So if I were a user that only has access to maybe North American sales, but not Canada sales, Mexican sales, South America, or Europe, I would only be seeing what's here. If I were then to send this spreadsheet to someone else who has different access than me, they would then get other options. Let's do one initial slice. We were looking at target earlier, so maybe I'm a person that's interested in who has got the sales across different products, and I'm interested in focusing on target, and I want to see the revenue. Very easy initial slice, and now I'm going to filter this down to just target. All right, so I've got data. I can see some people that are working on target, and maybe this is something that I want to send out to one of my partner channels. So I've got that. At any point that I want to switch gears and look at something else or maybe look at everything, you can see how the chart is automatically updating. Again, pretty simple Excel, but the point is that it's coming from CRM. Let's take another slice and see what else we might be able to do. I'm going to generate a second pivot table. In this pivot table, I'm going to look at the pipeline phases. I'm going to look at my customers. Again, I'm going to look at revenue, but now I'm going to start making some additional analysis on it. Excel can start expanding beyond what CRM can do. It's another reason why we might want to use Excel. So I'll put in a convenient chart so that we can look at this, and then I'm also going to put in some slicers so I can start looking at the data in different ways. I'm going to pull in industry and territory. So this will allow me to do some slicing of the data, but still remain pretty fresh. I'm now going to start applying some formatting to this to where it makes a little bit more sense. Go ahead and make it dollar amounts. And now I'm going to add in that layer that CRM does not do out of the box. Again, another reason why we might want to use Excel. I'm going to do some KPI analysis. So I am seeing now that target is looking a little low. Actually, I kind of got that KPI reversed. It should be green. So let's just go ahead and choose the other one. You can see that any mistakes I make can easily be switched around. There we go. I can now save this so it's reusable. I don't have to re-perform that analysis in the future. Now when I slice it and look at metal, my KPIs automatically redraw for me. Or maybe I want to look at clothing and metal. Maybe I want to look at just what's going on in the East Coast. And while I'm doing this from the Excel medium, this is pulled from my security profile. And so if I were to then send this to another employee, I can use the share option and just email it out. IT is not going to get upset because this data is still pulling from CRM. if I were to send it to someone who does not have access to CRM, they would only have this one static picture. They would not have the opportunity to be able to get a refresh. So you've got some advantages there. We can further expand on what we can do with Excel through the use of Power Pivot. Power Pivot is an add-on to Excel, and the core reason why you might want to consider using Power Pivot is you are not limited just to your connection with CRM. You can now start introducing additional connections. For example, I've got CRM data, which gives me my pipeline. I want to also factor in data from my ERP, from Dynamics AX, for example. So in that way, I can still then perform my slicers, like I was showing earlier, but now I can get some real good analysis from this. So it's saying, what are my pipeline, how am I performing in my pipeline, but also factoring in my actual revenue. This is going to get very powerful very quickly. It still stays connected to CRM, but it also introduces additional capabilities. Power View is an alternate way to view it, where I like to say it's the cleaned up version. It doesn't look as Excel-y, but it, if that's a word, pardon me, but it gives you the capabilities of it. You're typically going to have multiple different sections in Power View. You're going to have data that you put into one section, and then you can have a different look of that data in a different section. And if you were to click on any one of those data elements, like say, for example, click on North America, the left hand is going to redraw itself to show you only the results based upon North America. So Power View and Power Pivot are great ways that you can extend Microsoft Dynamics' connection with Excel and thereby further extend your ability to just get good BI and information. So I've gone through a couple different areas today. I've gone through some of your potential dashboards that you can use within CRM. I've gone through a couple different ways that you can use Excel to be able to draw out business intelligence. And there's often quite a bit more, actually not often, there is always more that you can do with BI. So we'd be glad to go ahead and talk with you a little bit further about some of the other ways. Here are some of the ways that you can contact us. And thank you today for your attendance to this webinar.
All right, thanks.
Entertain any final questions if there are any. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, thank you for presenting today. Great stuff. And yeah, we absolutely welcome any further questions from the audience. Art, you may want to maybe close out and go back to the panel. It makes it a little easier to sort of let the audience enter in anything they're wondering about. So if there's questions about some of the specific reports you've seen, how they were built, some use cases that you've been wondering about that maybe you didn't see today, I'm sure Art would love to take on some of those questions as well.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that reporting is a great way to do to have business intelligence, as is the ability to just look at a table of information. We saw kind of a glimpse into the tables with the BI's dashboards that I showed you, especially that last one. But BI is not limited just to charts and dashboards. Let's see, mobile versions of the BI tools. Absolutely. From a dynamic standpoint, there is a built-in tablet and mobile phone related features. From a tablet, it really comes to life and it looks a lot like what you saw in the dashboards. From a mobile phone perspective, there's a little bit more limited just because you're limited to the screen space. I've got another question. Do you have to click the refresh button in Excel if you export a dynamic pivot table, or is it done automatically? When you open up the Excel XML file, it's going to automatically prompt you to refresh. But if you have it open and you'd like to pull in the most recent information, yes, you would need to do a refresh. Great.
All right, if I could, I'm sorry, do you have another question?
No, I think that's it so far.
I just wanted to maybe follow up on the mobile question again. I think You know, you touched on it, but if people have really sort of specialized needs for expanding intelligence into mobile scenarios, would that be a case where most likely you'd be sort of looking at designing some custom interfaces or custom views of data on the devices for those cases?
That's a great question. Yes, from a tablet perspective, you are going to be getting one initial automatic one that doesn't require customization. It would just be configuration. The reason why I specify the difference is configuration can be basically done by a business analyst, where customization requires someone that has some development background. So beyond the one that you get for the mobile version of CRM, you would need to have some developers or some customization involvement. Now, let's not forget that from a mobile perspective, we're not limited just to tablets. Because of your connection with Outlook, at any point you can take your data offline and your laptop doesn't have to be connected to the internet, and you're still going to have access to everything that you were just looking at in CRM, subject to your security. So mobile could be thought of as taking that laptop with you but offline. But most often people are thinking of mobile as in a tablet or a smartphone.
All right. Well, I think we do have one other question here.
Yeah, it looks like we've got two final questions. A recording of this webinar, I believe there will be one. Is that correct, Jason?
That is correct. We'll be sending out an email alert on that to you pretty soon after the session concludes.
Fantastic. Okay. And I see, let's see, another question. Is what we saw today built into CRM, or is there a product we have to purchase? Everything I showed you today is out-of-the-box CRM. The only thing that was done was some configuration, meaning a business analyst could do it without the need of a developer. And it looks like there's one additional question. Are there any issues that you are aware of if using the Azure cloud-hosted version compared to in-house? No, actually, everything that I was showing you today actually was cloud-based. So Microsoft Azure combined with Dynamics CRM Online works fantastic, very stable platform, and you have all the capabilities that you do on-premise, except for perhaps some minor adjustments to not being able to access the SQL database directly. But you can still do quite a bit through the online version. Some great questions. Thanks, y'all.
Agreed. Well, I think we are at the end of our question queue, so we'll wrap it up there. Art, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Yep, have a great day. We'll be in touch soon, and thank you again.